This segment brought to you by Bravo Company USA. Hey gang, Larry Vickers here, Vickers Tactical Channel, and today I have for you the most requested live fire video in the history of my channel, the Laugo Arms Alien. All right, now, if you saw the review I did or the video I did in SHOT Show 2020 on the convention floor, we did it at their booth, which was a zoo, by the way, the whole show, and we did the best we could on the show floor to take you through the different details of the Alien. That's one of the top videos on the internet in regards to this pistol. Myself and everybody's been waiting for me to come out here and get some time down range with it and get some trigger time and get my shooting impressions of the gun. This is one of the signature edition guns that Lancer has imported, one of the 500. Mine is 500/005, which you saw I laid down some plastic on at SHOT Show 2020. This is the kit, all right? It's a $5,000 gun, so you gotta go big or go home. Comes cut for the gun. Obviously you got spare magazines, you got a holster, you got a top rail which has a red dot sight. It also has a top rail over here which has a red fiber optic front and an adjustable rear sight. Now, revolutionary gun, nothing else like it on the market. I talked to my buddy Ken Hackathorn after SHOT Show and he agreed. This is the most out of the box, completely revolutionary thinking handgun in the last quarter century, easily. What it is in a nutshell, from a simple point of view, it's an HK P7 operating mechanism flipped upside down. If you know anything about the P7 employs a gas delayed blowback action. Essentially, there's a gas port or a hole tapped off immediately in front of the chamber on a P7. As a projectile passes that hole, gas is bled down into a gas cylinder. Attached to the slide is a gas piston. That gas expands and keeps the slide from coming to the rear until the projectile has left the barrel, all right? Gas delayed blowback, and then the gun can cycle. The Alien has essentially the same operating mechanism, but flipped upside down, completely out of the box thinking. The barrel's on the bottom, and now the gas cylinder, gas piston, and the recoil springs on the top. With a P7, the recoil spring is around the barrel. On this, the gas piston is on the top on one side, on the other side is the recoil spring guide and the spring itself. So essentially what happens here is the opposite of what happens on the P7, but upside down. So when you fire the Alien, the projectile goes down the barrel right in front of the chamber, the gas is tapped off, goes into the cylinder, and keeps the slide from coming to the rear by forcing the gas piston in place temporarily, locking the gun shut. Then once it starts to come to the rear, the recoil spring does its job, feeds another round, and strips it off into the chamber. A couple things about it. Fixed top rail has the hammer attached to it. So when you pull the trigger, you're actually pushing a rod up to release the sear, which releases the vertical hammer to come down and hit the firing pin. Very unique design, and the trigger on this thing is sensational, all right? Another cool thing about it is the slide operates below the sighting rail, and the sighting rail stays fixed. All right, it does not move with the slide whatsoever. So if you have something like a red dot or even iron sights like this, they're much easier to acquire. They don't reciprocate with the slide, so you don't have to jump back on the sights and find them. They're much easier to pick up. Because of this design now, you're able to get your hand much, much higher on the gun. As a matter of fact, the bore line corresponds roughly to your trigger finger if you have your trigger finger pushed straight out. That's essentially the bore line on the Alien. Gun weighs 39 ounces, right about the same as a 1911, 4.8-inch barrel, 9mm parabellum only. Magazine, at one time I read on the internet, it was interchangeable with the CZ, which is not true. It's patterned after the CZ mag, but it's not interchangeable with the CZ mag, because if you look at the angle is much more like a Glock. So when you pick up the Alien, it points along the lines of a Glock in order to give you better leverage to control felt recoil and muzzle flip even more, all right? A lot of disinformation on the internet about this gun. I'd researched before I went to SHOT Show and even after, and there's a lot of stuff on there that honestly is incomplete or just simply not true. All right, so I went into it with a clean approach here with no preconceived notions on what this gun was all about. On the bottom, you have a machined aluminum frame, which is essentially dovetailed to the top steel portion on the frame, much like the Swiss Sphinx pistols, which of themselves were essentially CZ copies. And what you've got here is Laugo Arms did a similar approach. They machined the lower portion out of aluminum, dovetailed it into the upper portion of the frame, which is steel. Of course, you have a steel slide, and then the fixed top rail up top is aluminum, of course, with a steel hammer. Now, top rail, adjustable sight rear. You have a red fiber optic up front. Of course, the hammer steel. It all locks into place with a tongue and groove mechanism in the back and also a push pin across the front. Very easy gun to disassemble. Whether the slide's locked to the rear or it's all the way forward in battery, you can easily load a 17-round fully loaded magazine in the gun. It's kind of bizarre. Now, long story short, I know you want to know what I thought about shooting it. Well, first off, trigger is sensational. Dynamite, as good as or better than anything else on the market. The trigger is simply phenomenal. Number two, build quality is outstanding. Fit, finish, attention to detail, machining on this gun is superlative, outstanding. Now, one thing about it, it has that P7 jab. It doesn't have a push like you see in the Browning designs, whether it's a Browning high power or the SIG 226 or the VP9 or the P30 or any pistols along that line where the barrel's locked to the slide and retards that slide action, drops down, and then the slide's allowed to come to the rear, which softens the gun. It's more of a push on the slide action. This has more of a jab, which is very common with the P7 design. Remember, gas retarded blowback. What's the key thing in there? The ammo. You got to choose the right ammo for you that gives you the ballistics you want, gives you the accuracy you want. It also gives you the felt recoil that you want. All right, that's critical with this weapon. Also, on top of that, you got to choose your projectiles correctly. I was using a variety of ammunition. I grabbed some fairly blunt nose subsonic to try in it. I didn't want to feed it. Now, this ammo ran great. This S&B 115 grain ball ran like a champ. That blunt nose subsonic gun didn't like it. So that told me, got to check your projectiles, their ogives to make sure it's going to run in the gun. Remember, this is a competition gun first and foremost. It's not a gun that you're going to carry on duty or whatnot. This is a gun that's competition based, so you got to be tailoring your ammo for it straight off. Now, very low bore line to your grip. Does that make a difference? Yes, it absolutely makes a difference. In my opinion, you have maximum 50% of the same muzzle whip with the Alien as you do with other handguns. Dramatically reduced. Combine that with the fact that the sights don't move now, you pick up the sights at least 50% quicker. So right off the bat, you could say, well, it has more of a jab than a push, like a P7 versus something like a Browning high power, and that's true. But what you gain for that is much less muzzle flip because the low bore axis in regards to your hand and also the fixed sighting plane, now you pick up the sights dramatically quicker. Combine that with very high degree of manufacturing, a superb trigger, 17-round magazine. I gotta be honest with you, the gun's impressive. I know you've heard a lot of hype, you're waiting for somebody to give you an unbiased opinion, and here it is. Is it worth $5,000 for the signature edition? You have to decide. The guys are going for this, or the guys that are driving Mercedes AMGs or Porsches or whatnot, that's what this is intended for. It is a revolutionary design, completely out of the box thinking, and the guys who put it together, kudos from the LAV. Stay tuned, we got the live fire stuff coming your way for the Alien from Laugo Arms, ammo courtesy of S&B. Hey, Larry Vickers here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Click here to subscribe to the Vickers Tactical channel and take time out to check out some of our other favorite videos.